where's this being streamed? On ACLU?
Yep, so the ACLU of Wisconsin's Facebook
Okay.
page. Yeah, so you can go right from there and share.
Do you want me to start right at 6:30?
Unless you want to start at, I know we're at 6:28, 6:20.
Does everybody feel good we start now?
Conversation. Okay.
Okay. No, go ahead. All right, Zane. Gotta make sure my kids are quiet.
I like your background, Kristen.
Thanks. I was
Yeah, I
trying
like
to be.
that too.
Yeah, I was trying to be proactive. In
I was thinking she looks pretty professional. We should let her talk all night.
No,
Yeah.
please don't.
Since she the one not nervous.
We'll be going live in probably about 10 seconds.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and share it to the pages.
All right. We're live.
I'll go ahead and share.
Okay, welcome everyone to this week's Smart Justice Town Hall. I'm going to give it just about a minute for people to tune in. Please share, and we're just going to give it a minute. For people to tune in, please share, and we're just going to give it a minute.
Can somebody tag me? I'm scared to switch from this screen to try to share it.
I got you, Kay.
I ain't that computer illiterate. I'll be messing up.
All right, for those tuning in, welcome. We're just going to give it about 30 more seconds before we start for people to be able to tune in. Okay. All right, just about 10 more seconds. All right, so we'll get this started. So again, welcome to this week's Town Hall with Smart Justice. My name is Melissa Luden. I'm the regional organizer for our Smart Justice campaign. I am happy to be here with POP. So tonight's conversation is going to be with POP. They are a new group that is formed out of the city of Appleton, and POP stands for People of Progression. Before we go ahead and get started, I'm going to allow the panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. Just take about a minute to go ahead and introduce yourself. And not only just introduce yourself, but also why you're cold to this work and things that you've done before you've got involved with POP. So whoever wants to go first.
I could go. My name is Canaan Davenport. I've been in this area for about 16 years. I'm originally from a place called Harvey, Illinois, if anybody heard of there. South suburb of Chicago. I'm president of POP. I've been a barber in this area for about 16 years as well. I've been very close to the community, but based off my work being a bar and everything, you kind of get to meet everybody around some way or another. I can't even go to the grocery store. Somebody definitely will know who I am here. But it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be that close to the true people, the people, the regular plain people of the streets. Is very rewarding to work that closely with the public. What was the other question here?
The other one would be, why are you called to do this kind of work?
I'm called to it. It kind of chose me in a lot of ways. I didn't see myself being where I am today. I just kind of wanted to just be a humble barber and just make my money and go home. But to be honest, after it's always been in me a certain type of way. But after the George Floyd situation that happened, it really, really played on my heart heavy. I had a lot of the younger guys that I watched grow up not really knowing what to do or how to feel or how to react. So I think that's what kind of brung me in a little bit to be able to, to try to use the platforms that I have to help others. I hope I answered everything, Melissa. I did my best.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. My name is Kristen. I am vice president of our board and I guess a co-founder. Putting that aside, really my role in this has been supporting my colleagues and bringing a positive light to things and trying to just keep everything moving forward. So eventually in the future, we can look back and see measurable outcomes, whatever that may be. And I was called to the work, I guess I could say kind of like Kay, kind of happened around the same time, obviously. And a lot of things were going on and some people might think it sounds weird, but I even wrote down the fact that I was seeing like double numbers or like the triple numbers everywhere I looked. And I remember saying like, I just feel like something is about to happen in my life and bring like a lot of meaning to my life. And I can definitely say that my life has meant more in the past 6 months than it has probably in my entire life. So I definitely feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Thank you for sharing that, Kristen. Who would like to go next?
Go. My name is Chad West. I've been in the Appleton area for about 10 years. I moved here with my wife and kids from Iowa. We're originally from Chicago. I drive a truck. My wife is a nurse. I spent a lot of times in the schools, helping out in the schools since we've been here with my kids and also coaching. So my heart is really into fixing the school system's policies and the different things that happen with the children of color in the school systems. I've noticed a lot of discrepancies in the schools. I feel like I've always felt that way. And that's why I was so in tune with the schools. That's why I was so involved in the schools. I would have to say when Kay brought up this POP group, and right after the George Floyd incident, I mean, like, I was just fed up to that point of all the injustices that had been happening with Black people. So I was ready and I was willing to help in any way possible. So that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Chad, for sharing that. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. There's only two of us left. My name is Rick Kitchen. I've lived in this area, the Appleton area, for about 30 years. I met, I'm a pretty old guy, and I've been interested in kind of supporting racial justice and civil rights things for the last 40 years. I met Kristen and Canaan within the last couple of months, and got involved in a couple things, especially the tapirs talks that are going on from the barber shop. And something just, plus I was at I joined a couple of the marches, the march after George Floyd there in Appleton. And then there was a vigil a couple weeks ago. So I've met a few of you through those, and I just have some time to be more active. And I was asked to come on the board as a treasurer for this organization, and I feel really honored to be doing that and to be working with all of you.
Thanks, Rich. And last we have Kempton.
Sorry for my lateness. What's the question?
Oh, that's okay. So the question would be just kind of introduce yourself, who you are, and why you feel that you're called to this work. I know you've been doing some of this work before POP, so.
I'm Kempton Freeman. I work in the Appleton Area School District in the Diversity and Inclusion Department. I first heard about POP with Karen Nelson, but then I heard Chad talk about it because I was training his son this summer. And obviously, as far as being a Black male in Appleton, you always want to support, your culture and make sure that it's represented well. And obviously POP is doing a great job, phenomenal work, and want to do great work and continue to do so. So anything that I can do to help or give assistance, I was willing to do that in any way, shape, or form. So.
Thanks, Compton. Again, I just want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for coming on as panelists. I know I've been working with many of you for the last 6 months since the George Floyd and when POP formed back in June. Kind of just going back into what some of the things that you talked about, if we take a look at, POP, following the murder of George Floyd, People of Progression was founded in June by Black and Brown community members. Their mission is to work hand in hand with allies to unify Black voices while honoring the culture of self-discipline and virtue to fight all bias under the umbrella of racism. So I'll open this up to anybody that wants to talk about it. Why this mission? Why is this specific mission important, and why did you choose that?
Personally, I feel that at this point, like you mentioned with the George Floyd situation, with this point, a platform was needed. As many platforms as possible are needed. So we just want to use ours to, see what change we could make in the community, see what changes we could make in Appleton, see what change we could make in Wisconsin, and hopefully, things kind of could spread like wildfire, and people are, doing it all over the place. We're just playing our part, just trying to play our part. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that, it's important what we're doing, because when we formed, I think that without it necessarily even being said, we knew the importance of really organizing something that when the protests did stop, it's cold in Appleton, so people probably aren't going to be out there all year round. So making sure that we had something in place that when people stopped talking about Breonna Taylor, and when people stopped talking about Elijah McClain, and when people stopped talking about, here we have people who have been shot by police, and there wasn't protests back then, but we hope that if something so tragic were to happen in the future, that an organization like ours will be here and strong and ready to deal with anything when it comes and support the community.
Thanks, Kristen. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, when all this started going down, it was already a lot of tensions building up. But I think for me, seeing how hurt the youth was from these incidents, right? They really showed a lot of emotions, I would say, you know what I mean? And I feel like that was a calling, and that was just like it lit a fire under me to see what we could do and do more of, and teach our youth and help fight for our youth, because they don't always represent themselves properly or express themselves properly, So I think it was important for us to step in and help them, show their emotions and represent what they were truly trying to say, and what this fight is for. You know what I mean? So I think it was really important for some of the older Black men to step in and represent this fight, especially here in Appleton.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Chad. I think, I let Kempton or Rich, do you have anything that you want to add to that? Okay. When we talk about the youth, some of us really got close with some of our youth organizers. And it reminds me of Cassandra and how she really was the person that organized a lot of these protests. And if I'm correct, that's where the Tapers talk came from.
Yep.
And Kay, can you talk a little bit about the Tapers talk was created initially to bring people together as a safe space and to have conversation?
Yes, that's exactly right. The Tapers Talk was created just to be able to bring people together so that the community can have a place and a platform to talk about things that they were feeling. One of the main reasons, like you were saying, that I wanted to start Tapers Talk was I had a couple of the young guys come to me, and they, like Chad said, they were very emotional. They were very much in pain, even more than myself, and when you see the younger generation hurting the way they are, the way they were, especially in that moment, how can you not do something? How can you not give them a safe place, a safe space to, be able to vent, if nothing else, to be able to vent and talk about what's bothering them and talk about what's hurting them. So that's exactly the reason why I wanted to start Tapers Talk. And then from there, it became, okay, well, we can't just talk. We could talk, but we gotta follow up with some action. We can't just talk about things. Yeah, we could talk about them. It's good to talk and get things out. But after we have those conversations, what's next? So that's how POP was kind of created, just a small group of people. After our first Tapers Talk was on a Sunday. By that Monday, we had a group of people together trying to figure out our next steps as far as creating a group. And that's when we came up with POP, shout out to Will. He was and Khaleesi, he's not here as well. Two of the members that really, Chad was there too. Of course, Kristen. I hope I'm not, Mac, you know what I'm saying? It was a small group that we felt like we needed to start. We needed to put something together and start moving forward and start trying to create real change, not just talking. And hence is POP.
Right. And just for the people that are tuning in and watching, you want to say like Tapers Talk is at your barbershop, correct?
Yes. Tapers Barbershop, 203 North Richmond, Appleton, Wisconsin. We were doing it every other Sunday for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little bit colder and things, the COVID and a lot of things was going on. We kind of stretched it out a little further. The next date for the Tapers Talk is still to be announced. We'll have a date pretty soon here. Yeah, it's at Tapers Barbershop.
And I just put it in a chat, but we normally post the times and dates on our POP page via Facebook, and then each one of the members will share it to their personal page. And I also share it on other platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and also the neighborhood. So the neighborhood app. So it's all over the place. And I know a lot of people ask about it, but it also takes word of mouth, so when people, you're talking to people, just bring it up in conversation or whatever too.
And just so folks know, it's virtual now. It's Zoom for the time being.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we are all virtual now, and the last few meetings have been virtual. So if you are interested in those conversations, I think the last two were virtual. So you can go back into our newsfeed on our page, and they're still there. So you can watch them and see what we had been talking about. And each of the topics that we do talk about during Tapers Talk, they are the last talk we had reached out to our private group that is mainly community members from Appleton who are also passionate and want to help. And we reached out to that page and asked for topics that the community would want to hear and talk about. So that's how we got the last 3 topics. But before that, it's mainly because now just with the current climate, you know, here and across the country, a lot more Black leaders are putting themselves in positions to be at the table. So a few of us here have been on the community advisory board for the chief of police, and you know, a lot of stuff that comes up in those meetings we bring up in Taper's Talk to get the community's thoughts on it, so then we can go to that meeting and discuss anything that the community has talked about. So we don't just go in with only what Kristen thinks or only thing, you know, what Kay or Kempton thinks. So to anybody out there, please send a message to us. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we would definitely put it in the lineup of things that we'll cover.
And just to kind of add, I think too, so it's the chief of police in Appleton, correct? His advisory committee, and it's you, Canaan, and also Kempton that are on that. Okay. That's great. I think, you know, even real quick, I just want to mention, you know, we did mention Cassandra, how she organized these protests in Appleton. Many of us, even including myself, were at almost every one of them. And then for those of us, we also got to know Ray and Justin. And before I kind of, if anybody wants to talk about or just shed any light on, because I know POP has taken a lead in kind of what has transpired with them as activists and organizers, and also leading those protests. Does anyone want to speak on that or share anything?
Yeah, I could start right off. You know, they're a big reason why Taper's Talk exists. They're a big reason why POP exists. Their voice, you know, has been huge here in Appleton. I feel as though these young men, they gave their heart and their soul to this community, and I personally feel like they were done wrong in the end. I feel as though, you know, at the end of the day, they got the raw end of the stick. You know, I don't think it's fair. I think that we should continue to push forward, do whatever we can do to help them get, you know, those charges dropped, or at least lessened. Whatever we can do, I think that that's what we need to continue to do. Anybody else want to chime in? I don't want to hog the mic.
I can talk a little bit on that. And, you know, obviously we're being very sensitive to things because there is a case going on. But yeah, we are in contact with them, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to witness them going through this. It's hard to think about 2 young men who are just spreading their wings in the world and who are really good people, kind of being taken down like this. So I know that whatever we can do and whatever our community can pull together to do for them, because they were the ones, they didn't want to actually protest. Neither one of them wanted to be organizers of protests, but they did it because nobody else was doing it. So the sheer fact that they're willing to put themselves on the line for other people should spark action in others to stand up for them, because all the people that were at those protests months ago, I don't know, you know, I can't assume that they're doing nothing, but I just hope that people will pull together when it comes to these court cases that they're going through.
Right. And I think, you know, like I said, a lot of us have spent time talking with Ray and Justin, getting to know them a little bit, even I think of their stories just as much as we've all kind of gotten to know each other. And it's, you know, I think we all stand to support them right now. And thank you for highlighting that. Like, it is a sensitive issue. But I just want to say, like, you know, POP has been the group that has really supported them also the most. Does anyone have anything else that they want to add in regards to Ray or Justin? Okay. So what I want to go ahead and just ask in general, and this is open up to anybody, what, in addition to kind of what we talked about with with Ray and Justin, and then highlighting the Tapers talks. What do you want people to know about what's happening in Appleton?
If I could say, I would like people to know that things aren't what they seem. I feel that, although Appleton is a lot more progressive than a lot of places, I think that, I hope, well, I don't care what nobody think. This is what I think. I think that it's things, they try to make things look better than what they actually are in a lot of ways. That's just me being blunt about it. They try to make it seem as though racism isn't in Appleton. It's just the best city in America to live in and all that. Not saying it's the worst or nothing like that, but all I'm saying is it's a lot more work that needs to be done. When you think about anything pertaining to civil rights, anything pertaining to social injustice, it's still a whole lot of work that got to be done.
Yeah, for me, what I've noticed is how antiquated the school systems are here. It's a lot of policies that's in place, and it's not only in school, but I feel like it spills over into other areas of the city or even the Fox Valleys, but especially here in Appleton, I feel like it's a lot of work that needs to be done in these school systems. It's so many programs, and I know Kempton can speak to this too, but it's so many programs that they hold in these school systems, and they just do not want to let them go. It's a lot of children of color that's affected by these programs that they have in these school systems, where they really can't connect with these Black kids. And so because they can't connect with them, instead of trying to find a way to fix it, they instantly blame the kids. It's the kids' fault. They have IEP, or they just can't conform to the standards that the schools have set for the kids in the past. And like Kay said, like we're supposed to be a progressive city, this area is supposed to be so progressive, but it's really not, and it's a lot of people that's fighting against progressing, to those areas where it's more inclusion for everybody. So right now, I feel like it's definitely not inclusion for our Black kids in these schools.
Thanks for sharing that, Chad. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just say something. I'm here with these folks to learn more about all these issues. My ears and eyes are wide open, and I've lived in this area, like I said, for 30 years, but not my kids and grandkids grew up in another school district, not Appleton, so I don't know much about the school district, but let's face it, it's a white man's world. This country, it was founded on colonialism and white supremacy, and there's a whole lot of issues that we need to deal with because of that. So that's all I want to say right here.
I gotta commend you, Rick, because a lot of people in your place, being a white male, an older white male in this society, feel that they will lose more by speaking up for certain things. You know what I mean? So I just want to commend you for that, man. We definitely need more of you to make this thing happen.
Thank you. And I want to say, I'm an ally. I'm an ally. I'm not one of you guys, but I'm an ally that will support you.
Thank you I appreciate you sharing that, Rick. And I hope that whoever might be tuning in or watching, or might be watching later on, they'll see that, how you shared that. I mean, that's, I think even as myself, for somebody who grew up in Appleton my whole life, I see it too. I think there's a lot of implicit bias. We see the white supremacy, capitalism. And, I myself too come in as also an ally, and how I can best help support to be able to dismantle these very things, right? Does anyone else have anything else that they want to add to that as far as what you see happening in Appleton? Okay. The other thing I want to just kind of ask here, I think when we talk about things that are happening in Appleton, for those who are familiar with, our Smart Justice campaign and the issue that we have with decarceration with COVID, I know, Kristen, you have a family member of yours that has recently, shared some things with you who, his community is Appleton. Do you want to share some of the things that you've heard him share that he's currently experiencing and observing while incarcerated?
Sure. Yeah, and I did get the okay from him today that he felt comfortable and wanted me to bring this up. Well, let me start. His name's Pedro Winfrey, and there is a lot of bias in his case, which I won't speak on again because it's sensitive. So, but there is bias in the case, and I had sent some files to ACLU, to Melissa and her partner at ACLU. So once they started kind of looking into some information and, emailing back and forth, and people were very sensitive to the fact of not using an ACLU email or anything like that. And the jail somehow caught wind and they started treating him more unfairly. They took away his right to communication for a time and the right to use the law library. And he's representing himself because of the bias that was in his case. And he felt a few months ago that the public defender could have been part of that and he didn't feel comfortable or safe. So the fact that he was not allowed use of the library and communication or pens or pencils or envelopes when he's representing himself was extremely unjust. And when I was contacting between him and his girlfriend's a very, very close friend of our family, they started blocking the text messages and everything like that. He, especially when we started asking about COVID procedures with masks, and the fact that he was only given one disposable, like the medical disposable mask, and he was using that for months and not given another one. They can't buy them. And he was expected, are you supposed to wash a disposable mask? And having COVID positive people being put in pods with other people. And then just the fact that you're incarcerated and you already feel like you're locked up and you have nowhere to go. So just going through that and the anxiety I'm sure that you feel, texting your family if you don't hear from me, or just I can't imagine the stress that was put on him or is being put on him. So some of us here are part of also a community response group, and I'm very thankful for this group. It is a group full of very passionate people who are willing to just kind of on the drop of a dime do whatever they need to do to support the community. If there was like unsafe rallies going on around the election and people were mobilizing, getting in cars, trying to warn people on the street, stuff like that. And when I reached out to this group about what Pedro was going through, they all started emailing and calling the jail. When this happened a few days ago and they started reaching out, and I'm leaving out the fact that people here also, I'm thankful that people at POP also did reach out. The chief, Heidi Mickles, I think her name is, of Brown County Jail in Green Bay, she was sending back, they're lies, they're blatant lies. She was saying that they were given 2 masks, one medical, one cloth, and that they launder them. And that's a lie. And we have proof of the lies. I saved all the emails. And when people started calling her out on the BS, all of a sudden, without any warning, Pedro's moved. And he is now randomly moved to another jail in Green Bay. So, does it get better? Does it get worse? I'll try to keep everyone updated. He wanted everyone to know, anyone who would want to support him, that his next hearing is on December 14th. It is at 1:30 in the afternoon at the Brown County Jail. It's an arraignment hearing. And any support, I mean, if you can make a phone call or just any type of awareness or sharing his story, just it would be helpful. And I know it gives him hope as well. And we're all very hopeful for him. We just want to help him.
Thank you for sharing that, Chris. And I think, when you shared with me today that I believe it might have been yesterday or today that he was moved out of Brown County Jail to downtown.
That quick,
I was,
very, very quickly.
very surprised. I think just a little, so Pedro right now is currently sitting in Brown County Jail, has been sitting for almost, am I right to say almost a year? He's not been convicted of any new charges, but currently on a revocation, hold or pending revocation. Okay.
Yes, and he went all this time without getting a hearing at all because COVID stopped everything. So the fact that you can sit 11 months without anything going on is completely unfair. But yeah, it's mind-blowing, honestly.
Thank you for sharing that. There's clearly so many different pieces to all of this, but yet it's also very, very connected. If anybody has any questions for any of the panelists, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the Facebook chat online or in the Zoom chat. Also, if you want to be able to get connected to this organization or get connected to any of these panelists, information will be also posted in the chat on how you can do that. Or if you even want to support, we're going to list ways on how to best support this organization moving forward. So moving on to our next question, can you all talk about some of the issues that you're currently working on? I know many of you also work on different things even outside of POP. Feel free to share, but what are some of the things that you're currently working on?
I guess I can take this one. A couple of things that we are working on right now. Well, let me go to the side. Hold on, this side. So we got the call going on, and that is all month long. We're just starting out with another focus that we want to focus on trying to build some more unity between our Black-owned businesses here in Appleton. I know that we're gonna definitely succeed at this and get people more connected. Aside from cooperative economics, I mean, the Tapers talks, we've just been consistent in doing that. And I know when we first were forming, it was, I'm sure, with a lot of different groups that started out this way. And in this climate, it was kind of just like a juggle of a whole lot of different things that we didn't know exactly where we wanted to go first. There's so much that needs to be done that it's so hard for a grassroots organization to really pinpoint one right away. So we have started working on a lot of things, but in my opinion, this cooperative economics is definitely one of our main focuses just at this point.
And to add to that, Kristen put out a call to start up a page with Black-owned businesses. So she has someone else that took that call. That was Orson, I believe. And I actually had a bunch listed, so I sent them in. So that's something that's going to be put out somewhere, right, on the page of all the Black-owned businesses in this area. I'll just add to what I'm doing. I'm involved in a couple task forces in the Appleton area through Esther, so Environmental Justice Task Force and a Mental Health Task Force. But before that, I was involved in a effort up on the Menominee Reservation, which is an hour north of us, working on trying to work on the problem of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So it's a big problem across the country. So I've been working with Kristen Welsh up there, and I've also recently been involved in a racial justice team on the Menominee Reservation too. So would like to kind of get that joined in with POP or just have some kind of working relationship there.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Rick. Kristen, the organizer up there, is fantastic. I'm Menominee, so shout out to Kristen. Anyone else like to share? Go next. Kempton, Chad.
I guess I can talk. I ain't been talking a lot. All right. I don't know. I ain't doing too much. Obviously, my focus is the things I do with the kids in the school district. You know, with one of my closest people I work with, and my closest friend Nick Ivory, on the cultural liaison for the district. He do a peer mentors, which has been successful for the last 4 years. So we've been continuing to do that virtually. It looked different, but it's pretty cool to see those kids interact that way and actually want to be involved with that from the elementary level, and our high school kids actually following through. Focusing on grades with the virtual learning. I know that's been hard and tedious for a lot of kids, and we trying to work with them on that as well. And then, you know, obviously Black Student Union, still trying to make sure that I focus on that with the high school students that I work with in Black Student Union, so that we can do things like MLK Day, Day of Service, and then the Black History Month celebration, which is like my brainchild. So I have to, this is my first time doing it virtual. And if anybody know me, like I don't do like small things. So it's like, I get like major headaches doing that, but when it's all said and done, it'd be great. And obviously at the end of December for 2020, I'll be doing the courageous conversation with Kathy Flores and Rika Ramos from Diverse and Resilient, and a couple of kids in the equality clubs in the Appleton School District. I feel like the LGBTQ plus community don't get a lot of headspace, and you know, I guess it's frowned upon. I guess I don't really know, but I felt like as a heterosexual male, like it was kind of like these kids need help, and it's the most at-risk youth suicide at the highest rate in the high school in Wisconsin. So I felt like it was super important for those kids. Plus, my personal attachment to it. Talked to my nephew about it yesterday, who just came out and told his father, who is my brother, that he is gay, and that I felt that I loved him, and I felt like it was super important that I talk about it, because I also have a child, and if he so chooses that this is who he is, it is not up for me to love him any less. And I felt like we get so caught up in stuff like that. So I felt like Kathy gonna do all the talking, and I'm just gonna sit there and listen and learn a lot. And I feel like that's super important, just learning, trying to grow as a human being, being a man of faith, and understanding that faith don't mean that I'm a hypocrite. It's just that I want everybody to be represented well. I want to know that everybody feel like they are important, you know what I mean? And that they feel like people want to hear their stories and people want to validate them. So that's pretty cool. So those three big things. And, you know, I understand the plot with the school district, like Chad said. I ain't want to chime in on that, but I think that I think it's a lot of work to be done. You know, they say it take 21 days to create a good habit, 21 days to break a bad habit. We had 180 days, so we can do that 4 times over if we choose to. So, you know what I mean? Just create that good space, and that we had opportunity to change lives and mold people in the right way. If we can show them and build a relationship with them, who knows? We could save a couple lives, and when they get to be our ages, they can come back and be like, hey, I want to pay it forward and do it for somebody else. So that's pretty much it.
I mean, that's fantastic work, Kempton. Thank you so much, you know, for sharing that. And anybody, I'm sure when he has his stuff, they want to reach out to support or get connected, you know, you can connect with any one of these panelists on that. And also too, that you mentioned Kathy Flores. You know, Kathy Flores has done a lot of work for many years in Appleton under diversity and resilience. So a big shout out to her as well with all that. Before we move on, Chad, do you have anything? Anyone else have anything to add as far as things that?
Well, one of the things that I'm involved with right now is, again, is dealing with the school system. There's a program, it's called a STAR program. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that, but it's a couple of women from the Appleton area school district, Kiki Tomery and Demetria, I can't remember her last name, but they run the STAR program, and it's basically kind of like a mentorship program also for Black kids. And I've joined just recently in the parent discussion part. So we meet, what is it, once a month. And then we have these same type of just simple discussions on things that we can fix, things that we want to see changed, not only in the school systems, but within our households, different things that we can do to help our kids, become more successful in life, period. So I think it's important that we continue to have those conversations. And I think what Kempton said, it kind of struck a nerve, because with everything that's going on in the world right now, our kids are facing so many issues. I want to say they have, and it's a lot of things that's coming their way through social media, through family members in the household, just outside influences, schools, teachers, books, TV, everything. They have it's so many different things coming towards these kids, and a lot of them need help just talking, just working through their emotions, just working through their feelings and their thoughts. A lot of them are scared, and when kids don't get a chance to speak their mind, that's where they feel like they have nowhere else to turn but to suicide and things like that. So most of us have kids that we're raising. Most of us have, biracial kids or Black kids that we're raising. So it's important that we continue to embrace them and share that message and spread that message, and continue to work together as a group to make sure that our kids are protected.
Yeah, thanks again, for sharing that. And again, if anybody has any questions, we're going to start asking questions from the audience. So please go ahead and put your questions in the chat. So I know we've really discussed, there's a lot of passion here with youth, and it's super important. Why? Because we live in a state that we have the highest mass incarceration rate than anybody else in the country. We have a state that is just waiting to feed from our children. And, when we talk about the school system and how we see the school system, the bias, what they're teaching our kids, a lot of them are preps to get our children to become caught in the criminal legal system. Once they can be caught in the criminal legal system, kind of what we're seeing with Ray and Justin, right? It's very hard. It's very hard to get out. And one of the things, and I'm going to see it because it's from my colleague, Sean. So this is going to be the first question that I'm going to ask is, and for those of you, and I know we've had many conversations about this and we've talked about it before, we pay $37,000 a year to have somebody be incarcerated, when how much do we pay a year for a child to be at public school? How much money do we truly invest, in someone like you, Kempton, people who want to work with our kids at school? It keeps getting taken away, right? And here's that money to our prison system.
Not $37,000.
What was that, Kempton?
I said not $37,000.
Right. All right. So my colleague Sean asked, given that you all formed in response to police violence, which is considered the front end of the criminal legal system, and he is correct when he says that, how are you all working or thinking about addressing the issue of mass incarceration in the state, which is considered the back end? Would like to respond first?
Well, for me, I think what we need to do is continue to educate our kids, from that standpoint. And also it comes in who we elect to represent this state and represent us as a people. A lot of times we let that fall to the wayside, thinking we really don't have a voice, or, a lot of times when you think of politics, you think about how it's rigged, or, my vote really don't count. But as we can see, like, when you really press the issue, your vote really counts. And I think when we select the right officials, and put pressure on the people that's not doing their job, I think that's when things begin to change. Because one thing I have seen is when when things aren't right and people get put in that spotlight when they know they're not doing right, then they tend to back into a corner or run. So I think that's one of the things that we really need to be focusing on is getting the right people elected into office to represent us as a people.
Thanks for that. Anyone else?
I'm going to say we need to invest more in schools, more in mental health, and just public awareness to bring these issues out into the general public. And one good program that helps does that is the Mayor's Diversity Office, which is run by Karen Nelson at this time, and Kathy Flores was in that position for maybe 12 or some odd years, and Allegheny County, I think they had in their budget to have a diversity person. So I'm not sure if that's still in the budget, but we need information, public. We need to bring these issues out. Everything that we're talking about today. So folks in this community need to know what's going on. I'm not the best speaker, but that's the best way I can put it.
You said it perfect, Rick. Does anyone else want to go?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Rick and Chad. We definitely got to we got to figure out how to get a seat at these tables when these conversations are being had. Whether it be one of us ourselves, or we rally behind or with somebody who is at the table or who's running for that certain spot. We really got to somehow figure out how to get our voice to be heard. So oftentimes, the people that's making the choices and making the decisions aren't making the right decisions and choices for the people. Right. Many other things involved, whether it be finances or their own agendas involved, to where the people's voice not being heard. And when the people's voice not being heard, then it's a sad situation. That's what we seem to see nowadays. So like they saying, and I agree, we need to vote. We need to start getting the right people in office, supporting the right people, making sure that they understand that if we're going to support you, then you got to speak for us as well. That's what I would like to add.
And that kind of brings me back, Kay, to what you and I had like our one-to-one. We find that just a lot of people don't know. And right. So it's constantly having these conversations and educating, even sharing stories from people's experiences is important. But, kind of going back to Sean's question in that is that we've seen a lot of people galvanize and group together over police brutality. And one of the things that we also want to take from that momentum is we need you also to bring up that momentum when we talk about ending mass incarceration in our state. Because the system, it's killing people and destroying families and lives. Kind of going back to even when we talk about, when I shared with you, even on the crimeless revocation piece, that's the number one driver to mass incarceration is people living in our community who are on supervision. If maybe they missed an appointment, were late to getting to a check-in appointment, or maybe they switched jobs, they were being locked up for that. And Kristen, I know with your experience with Pedro, he's sitting there with no charges, waiting. These are things that we pay for when that money can really be pushed into the proactiveness to our children. And like you said, Rick, the mental health care, the mental health treatment, other programming, and, different things like that. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
Sorry, Kane.
No, go ahead.
I was going to pick it back off like what Canaan and Rich and Chad said, like, honestly, like with programming, like obviously it's important, what I mean? And I think with the protests and like police brutality, everybody was like, it's this line of where they don't want to discuss Black problems, but they want to defend people that kill Black people. Now, I'm cool with whatever way you sit. I'm okay with that. But I had one of my police friends who was sitting around, he said something real goofy. That for people that don't know, goofy means you said something that was out of line. Now, he said, like, well, why would you want to defund the police? I was like, well, I don't want to defund the police, but I said, I don't want to feel like I get anxiety from getting pulled over and I might get shot. I don't want to feel that way either. So I think that if you put, I said people that I talk to, obviously this is a white guy and I get it, and I told him the same thing, you just live in white comfort, and it's fine for you to be comfortable in that space, and I'm cool with it. I don't have a problem with what your gripe is or what your concerns are. That's not my place. I'm talking from a Black perspective. You can't tell me how to feel about it because you're not Black. Like, you're not understanding the high anxiety I feel when a police officer is behind me, or how when I get pulled over, it's a 50-50 chance I might not make it home to my son. So I have to worry about X factors that you don't have to worry about. But I'm not asking you to put yourself in my place either. So when they talk to you about situations, you can't be upset about the situation that don't concern you. Like, I'm not putting myself in your uniform and telling you, like, oh man, I feel, nah, bro, that's your thing. That's what you decided to do with your life. I'm cool with you. I'm still gonna talk to you. You my guy. But don't come up here and tell me I'm supposed to be not against the fun of the police because my friend is a police officer, bro. Like, if you got fired tomorrow, like, I would still be your friend. Like, regardless. Like, so what are you telling me? Like, it don't matter. What matters is if you see a problem, for the love of everything, be a human being and say something. Like, that's the big issue. Like, you don't want to be a human being. Like, you feel like you're above. No, ain't nobody above nobody. And if you feel that way, then I guarantee you a lot of things would be resolved if you felt like everybody was on equal ground. Like, ain't nobody dominant, ain't nobody a subordinate. Like, if you felt like, even in those situations, I understand everybody not gonna be a boss. I understand it's workers and bosses. Like, I'm not asking for that. But what I asking for is for that worker to have the same opportunities to present his or her messages the same way a boss presents his or her messages. It's the same thing. So when we talk about these cycles and programming, it got to be a proactive approach, but it also have to be from the people who got the funds and the money to do it. And last time I checked, in Appleton, Wisconsin, that is a whole bunch of 99.9% Caucasian white males over 45. So if those people have a problem with what's going on with the stuff beneath them, or they say is beneath them, then float some of that money to fix some of these problems so you can pick up some of these potholes. And hey, we can't have no issues if ain't nothing to talk about. But if you're not floating no money and then people see discrepancies, they gonna say something, because now it shouldn't be a discrepancy because we have enough money. If we got enough money to throw somebody in jail, we got enough money to pay somebody to advocate for these kids on a mental health cycle. Like, it gotta be a even line. And I'm not asking for the line to be even that is equal. I'm just asking for it to be there. So I think when we talk about these programs, that's the good thing we got to start doing. So all the good points that everybody made, like, it is near and dear to my heart. So like, it's just a sad situation all around. But I think, like, we know what the cause of all things are, pro and reactive, is money. So let's, you know what I'm saying, hit the pockets or hit them where it hurt. I guess that's really what it's about. So
Yeah, I agree with you. And I noticed Penny Robinson sent a message, and she said, have you thought about having a Black person apply for the police and fire commission? And I know this was something that we spoke about before, about there is a couple of Black people on the police force here in Appleton, but it sounds easier than what it actually is. And again, this is where I feel like us as a people have to continue to educate our kids and, you know, let them see that these are goals that can be accomplished. You know, being a policeman, being a fireman, you know, running for any type of political office, being a school teacher, you know, those are what we need, you know what I mean? And a lot of times unfortunately, when our kids are in these school systems, it's either sports or nothing. You know what I mean? So that's where we have to begin to, you know, cycle through it and bring more of our kids into those type of programs and push for the schools to allow for those programs to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Thank you for, sharing that. I'm taking a look at the time here. If only we had 30 more minutes, we could keep going. There's another question that I'd like to ask in the chat for the sake of time. Speaking of you know, it's like you said, we have to follow where the money is. Who's got the money, right? And so anytime we talk about public education, upcoming next year, we have joint finance hearings. So the Joint Finance Committee is going to be having hearings on the budget. This is the state budget. This is about public education. This is about how much money is put into the Wisconsin prison system, all different pieces. And so we hope to be able to see some of you at those or be able to testify on all this because those are the decision makers. And speaking of the budget, I want to quick share for those not on here. This will also get shared in the chat and in Zoom. Next week, Tuesday, Governor Evers is hosting his listening session on criminal justice reform. Now, as we know, Governor Evers ran his campaign on criminal justice reform and has yet to actually do something. So with this link in here, if for those who can tune in, it's going to be from 6 until 8. So again, Tuesday, December 8th at 6, this is going to be the governor's listening session, his budget listening session on criminal justice reform. We encourage all of you that can, please attend that and ask questions. This is going to be really important. Again, this is in preparation for the budget coming next year. Also, real quick, for the sake of time, for those, we're also going to share our petition. Right now, Wisconsin state prisons are on the brink of becoming a public health catastrophe, and we need your help. You've been seeing many of us share posts, stories. You've seen Wisdom and Expo outside of the governor's mansion. We are trying to urge the governor to make decisions. He has the power, executive power, that he can do on his own that would not get stopped by any legislators to be able to make releases. And there were certain releases on recommendations for elderly and people with severe health conditions, as well as people that may soon be able to get out. So please sign that petition and share that as well. I'm also going to go ahead and share, because we want to stay connected with POP, people of progression, people that want to collaborate and support. Their Facebook group is also going to be put into the Zoom and also the chat on Facebook. Please like and share, get connected. The other thing that we're also going to share is, you know, if you're interested and maybe you want to help out and donate, we're going to have their Cash App listed as well for anybody who may want to offer them some type of donation for the work that they're doing and currently plan to do as well. And I know we're just about at that 7:30 mark. I want to thank all the panelists. I wish we could keep going. Thank all the panelists for joining us. Thanks, Pop. And stay tuned. And like I said, if feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions or if you want to, you know, get involved. But thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday, stay tuned. Sean Wilson is going to be having a discussion on Wednesday talking about the governor's proposed budget for criminal justice reform. It's going to be an important conversation. So stay tuned for the link for that event, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.